At the beginning of this video, we did take it a little bit formally, but that's not who we truly are we? If you're going to be vibing to Snoop Dogg in your ear, then you might wake up Dear Double G. How much I suffer on a daily basis.
My name is Shuhaib Ali.
Songs are either about money that they don't have, or they have it. And then eventually you're receiving it and you're like, oh, you want it, the cars, everything, the lifestyle, blah, 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 or the heartbreak. I mean, heartbreak songs. Let's just pause there. Right?
Hi, Mr. Shuhaib Ali. Yes. So before I introduce you, I would like you to introduce yourself to our lovely audience. I think you could do it better than I could.
Best way to identify me is coach, trainer, coach.
Beautiful. That in itself, I think, speaks about what we are going to talk about in this podcast, right? So, Mr. Shuhaib, can you tell us a bit about your personal journey and how you started Pufferfish? Yeah.
Okay. How I started Pufferfish, a twist of midlife crisis and the need to build something, a space where I felt that I would like to exercise the skills that I want to work on. That's how Pufferfish was truly designed. To put it more specifically, an environment where I could develop my skills without any hesitation.
Right. Why coaching? Why communication skills? Why not anything else?
It starts from you being a child and never ends. It's learning that is necessary. And when you say, why coaching, why communication skills, it applies in all walks of life. From how your parents interact with you as a child to how you are going to interact with society as you grow older. And eventually, when mortality is going to overpower you, still it is communication skills that resonates the true product, which is personality. And that can be most often narrowed down to the skill set of just communicating those ideas out. This is why communication skills.
That's why you've decided this is where I want Pufferfish to be, right? Or this is what you want Pufferfish to be. So what are the obstacles that you had to overcome to make Pufferfish what it is today? Or just about how you are today? What were the obstacles that you had to overcome?
The question is quite broad for me to say what are the obstacles. I could start on by saying how it is that I was unable to identify a service that the organization could deliver, which was one of the biggest obstacles that I coming across. But apart from that, even though you're a training and development institution into helping people develop their personal brands and help them identify the skill sets that they truly need to work on. Despite this, one obstacle that consistently keeps evolving is on working on the skill sets of the team. I feel is one of the biggest obstacles that you will have. How to help people work with each other. How to build that chemistry between teammates. This is an obstacle because you need to understand the needs and wants of one team member and how they're going to resonate and connect with the other. I know organization structures, you speak to HR, they're going to give you a whole new level of HR mechanisms of connect with one another. But as an SME, you start something. So you're one person in the journey, and then you're developing your core team. Now, the first obstacle that you're going to have is who you're teaming up with. What are the services that you're going to exchange in terms of creating a service delivery? And then when another member comes along, another person comes along, on how the silos of that individual and the other is going to work, and the silo of you three people put together is going to work, and the silo of how you and the other person is going to work. And then as the team grows, people keep on adding, and the differences, and they all need to grow with the same speed, because if one grows a little too far or too fast, then what happens is the other ones tend to feel that they aren't giving enough or supporting enough, and then they feel that, okay, hey, do I migrate to another team or something like that, into another product? This is one of the hurdles that I really feel that I've been having. This most recent one and the most beginning few of ones is this.
This could be something that I assume most corporates in Sri Lanka do face. And how have you been tackling that obstacle, the one that you mentioned at last? How have you been tackling that obstacle throughout your team as a communications and communications company, or like an agency that provides such?
How we would tackle this is going back to the core of the type of culture we are creating inside the organization. And when I say what type of culture we are creating, I'm also being very specific as to how you're making one another feel inside the organization, the value that they create for themselves. Teammates and people inside a small system, it's a very small ecosystem, it's an SME. Inside that, how they create value for one another, and how that impact of service that one person feels that he has to one another, okay, is very important in order to set the stage for the long run.
Right. So you've probably had different types of people walk into your company. And most of the students, as we all know, are very heavily focused on academics, like this degree, that degree, this qualification, this certification. Just as that is important, how important do you think is communication skills when it comes to presenting yourself in an organization or in an ecosystem like you mentioned, in the little ecosystem that you will be working in? How important is it?
You see, I cannot describe as to how important it is, but what I can say that, is your identity important for society? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Right? How people receive you, is it important? For example, you take hairdos, you take beard styles, you take clothing, you take the things that you want to buy or the wearables that you have. All of these things are decorative things that you actually invest on in order to be received by the people who are receiving you in a particular standard that you want to create for yourself. And communication skills is and always will be one of the primary factors, because it is a powerful way of defining a personality trait and a capacity trait of an individual. A person's exposure has got a direct connection to how his expressions are in terms of how he communicates.
So what are your thoughts on the first impression? Just as how important, as you mentioned, our identity and personality is, we have a lot of buzz talk about, how important your first impression is. So what is your input on the first impression? Is it as important? Is it equally important? Does it play a major role in setting your identity and personality?
See, this is one of those questions where I draw a blank. Reason why is because majority of the times you're going to find this question come your way. What do you think about first impressions, whether they matter? Yes, it does, but where does it start? Your first impression does not start when you have a person in front of you. It starts when you wake up and look at yourself in the mirror. That is where it truly starts. Who are you really? What is it that you are going to go out and express with the people that you're going to connect with? The immediate next person, it could be your roomie. It could be your spouse. It could be the person just outside the door. It could be your next immediate family member. In order to perfect all those impressions, communication skills truly start when you are able to wake up and understand who you have woken up to be by looking at the man in the mirror. This is where it starts. Because if you look at it in terms of, oh, hey, first impressions really matter. You go for an interview and you are trying to put yourself in front of an audience. You're trying to stage yourself. You have already stepped on a pathway to something you are not, because you're staging yourself. And that's going to be a setback. Because how long can you carry that staging? How much are you going to carry that staging into it? So first impressions, yes, it matters. But where do you actually start the dotting or the sequence of where you number the first impression mechanism? Is it, all right, the camera's on, first impressions matter? No. It starts when you wake up. Even more specific, if you really want to know how your first impressions matter on how you really wake up, it's the mechanism in which how you go to bed. What are your thoughts? If you're going to be vibing to Snoop Dogg in your ear, then you might wake up Dear Double G, vibing to Dear, right? What you receive, your giggle, your good in, your good out, what you actually feed your system, your neurosystem the previous night, like what the nutrition you have, to the content you consume, to the people you have a conversation with, to the mood in which how you actually wind down, has got a big impact for your new day.
This is one of the most, this is a very different answer. In fact, an answer I've never heard of from the people I've asked this question from about first impressions. It's always about how to dress, how to talk, how to look, how to hand gestures, to everything. But this is an answer I don't think any one of us have heard of. Kudos that put it on like the first clip, like, sir, honestly impressed. Right.
I'm just smiling because I've never had anybody appreciate my answers.
It's a really good answer, sir. Right. I think this is another question that the students might have for us.
Okay.
What are some of the most common mistakes people do make at interviews, presentations, or day-to-day communications that they have in their lives?
Trying to project a future self in the present context. Project who you are right now.
Still a very different answer from everything I've heard before, because usually it's like work to who you are in the future and work to the person you want to be.
Yes, fake it till you make it, I agree. Sorry for interrupting the way you're saying it, but yes, it's true. You fake it till you make it. But draw the line where you fake it till, I own a Rolls Royce. Your first day interview. You're not going to get the job.
Right, sir. Right. So in your experience, what separates you from an effective communicator to an average one? How can you define the differences between that?
The differences between an effective communicator to an average one is an individual who can dumb it down so low that the baby in the room can react to it. Simpler words, easy sentences, quick 3 types of examples if you're trying to put something forward. The person who is, because you see, one of the biggest mistakes that we individuals have in our mindset is that we think that language is a stencil of intelligence. No, it's not. To a certain degree of knowledge, yes, but intelligence, no. Now, when I say knowledge and intelligence, what's the difference? Hey, listen, intelligence, anybody who speaks any other language apart from English is going to have the same emotional intelligence that the other people have who speak English as a language. And just because somebody speaks English does not mean to say that he is very educated. No, hell no. There are countries around the world where the beggars speak only English. English is the first language, right? I mean, the person who has failed to identify their priorities in life and has found themselves to be a homeless individual, I hope everybody solves their issues in terms of performance, but they also speak English. It's not that they've been deprived of it, but it's just that the bad company that they joined and how it is that they stenciled or positioned themselves, they are there in that situation. So if you feel that you want to be projected or received as an above average communicator, learn to connect with everyone, and that requires being simple as possible. The more simple you are, the more mellow it down. I mean, you see a child in the audience as well, connect to the child as well. You can talk to the child while you're speaking to the adults. And if the children are able to retain their attention with you, I mean, any average child should be able to, then you've got the capacity of retaining the attention of the pundits also in the room.
This is like a very common stereotype in Sri Lanka of, you know English, you're the better one. If you know English is when you can get into a prestigious company. So what, in the Sri Lankan context, what are your thoughts on it? Is English superior than any other language that has been spoken? Or does that define your version of a communicator? Or like, does that define an effective communicator?
This is how you're going to start this clip. The languages you speak is the parameters to the world you operate and live in. Languages connects. If you speak a language that is only spoken by an island and recognized by an island, then your world is going to be restricted to that island.
True.
And if you speak just another language that is spoken by a little bit more than just an island, but an entire region of the world, then the parameters of your knowledge and understanding the world is connected to a region. Because you're receiving information in that language more frequently than other. The priority of the type of information you're going to receive is connected to that region. And when you speak a language that's global, you have just unlocked a whole new wavelength of information. And information truly changes the way you think and look at things. The more information you have about the world around you, the more differently you think.
Thinking differently, sir, there are some of us who do have a challenge in connecting with different cultures. How does communication play a role to connect into the other culture despite you knowing their language? How could we work on that?
Your biggest enemy is always going to be your pride. Pride really ruins personal capacity and growth. Now, when I say pride, I'm not talking about the feeling of, hey, I have everything, that's the reason why I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about pride that cons your shyness to connect with people. Right? There are three things that really slow your knowledge and information gathering. And you can't be a student when those three things exist inside you. One, pride. The feeling of knowing it, I don't need to find out. Two, shyness. You don't know that you're shy sometimes, which is even worse. You think that I'm just going to carry myself that way. Or a lack of exposure where you do not want to ruin your reputation. You want to pitch yourself as something you are not instantly at a capacity where you want to be that. It's a little difficult. You have to grow to that level. And number three, laziness. You don't want to attempt. You don't want to apply. You don't want to step in. So, if your mechanism in how you're going to connect with people is going to be shortened by these three reasons, of course you're going to be cornered. Your communication skills are going to be weaker. You're unable to connect with societies. Different people, different cultures. We are from different nations, different tribes, different color, different type of food, multiple forms of values, all resonating towards livelihood. And if you're not willing to apply yourself to accept a different form of livelihood, a different form of pace and speed of living, then you are not going to be able to connect with them. And the more you are straying away from connecting with individuals who are of different cultures and ethnicities, and you're not willing to mingle and find out about how it is that their values create, of course you're going to be a bad communicator. I see many people trying to attempt titles when they haven't even traveled. Good. You're doing something, yes. But if you're trying to achieve titles in order to gain respect when you haven't connected with a lot of people, and you're looking at titleship as a form of respect, then you have already slowed down the ones who are going to look up to you. Because you're also part of society. Everything you do, they're going to observe. They're going to learn from you.
So, for someone who is just starting their higher educational journey,
Right.
how do you think confidence could play a role in shaping how they'd finish their education, or how they would travel through their journey in education? How their confidence and communication skills would play a role?
Like I said just before, when you want to stay away from certain zones of comfort, right, and you are not willing to step into discomfort, your education is only going to take you thus far. It's very important to gather that knowledge. But what brings about the quality of that knowledge is when you are truly applying it. And in order to apply it, you should be willing to step into zones where you're not comfortable doing things. That is where confidence builds. Okay, for example, let's take, have anybody who wants to drive. Could you be a good driver if you're always seated in the passenger seat? But we all know that the driving seat is a hot spot. More attention. More stress sometimes, perhaps, when you start driving, or you're a bike rider. Only if you sit on the bike, you start it, and you start moving with it, and you identify velocities when you get the confidence, hey, I can move from 0 to 10 to 20 kilometers on 2 wheels, where I have the confidence to balance myself around turns, right? That requires a level of confidence, and to do that, you should be willing to take a few deep breaths where you're afraid that you might trip and fall. So if you're pursuing education and you're not willing to go with the challenges that come across and alongside with that education, the curricula is where you're going to apply your personality and your development with whatever activity-based learning that's happening inside an educational system is you must step in. Oh, I will not go and talk. No, you're going to slow down. Go talk. You're not going to be the best on day 1, day 2, day 3. No, for the next 3-4 years that you're going to study, you're not going to be the best, but who cares? Because 10-15 years down the line, it is the way you apply yourself now while you're trying to pursue your degree, right? The learning stages and the stages where people are going to ignore you because you're still trying to discover yourself is the time that you apply yourself. Because by the time you're done and then you're pushed into the workforce society, okay, or the entrepreneurial society, or the service-driven society, or the product development society, you're pushed there, you're like, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be very difficult for you. Education, very important. Applying yourself during those times of education, very, very important. 2 varies squared.
I think that answers the next question that I was going to ask, which was public speaking is a big fear for many.
Right.
But as you said, if you don't take your first step, you can't go there, if I'm not wrong. So is that your answer for overcoming the fear of stage fright or public speaking? Or is there any practical activities, or there are various different things on YouTube, take 4 deep breaths, hold it for 4 seconds, let it out for 4 seconds, etc., etc. Do you have any thing you practice on a daily, or do you have anything that you advise anyone with the stage fright to practice? Is there anything as such, sir?
You see, Leah, people might identify public speaking as an element that you have to exercise and it's a separate thing altogether. But for a coach who teaches public speaking as a subject and as a skill that he wants you to resonate with, until you're a professional, it's not public speaking. Only when you're a professional, it truly starts at public speaking. Till then, you need to apply it as self-discovery. You're starting off, I'm afraid of public speaking. No, that's not the word that you're looking for. I'm on self-discovery. See, it's a very different mindset in how it is that it's going to look at now. Because the moment you say it's public speaking and then, oh, I'm afraid of public speaking, or I'm feeling a little bit afraid to go in front of the audience and speak in public. No, what you're actually saying is you're afraid to identify your modes and your capacities that you hold. That's what you're afraid of. Because the more you apply yourself in terms of being who you are, the more comfortable you're going to be. And the more you create a stigma and a standard of what you're not and what you want people to perceive you as or see you as, that is where your trauma starts to kick in. And then you're standing in front of a crowd and you're wondering, what do they think about me? First, hey, let's start this way. What do they think about me is secondary. What do you know about yourself? Who are you really? Why are you there? How human are you? Do you breathe? You're in front of people and you're worried about what they think about you. And you're not worried about how you feel or what you're feeling. And the first thing you need to feel is the air. Breathe. 99% of your problems in terms of how you look at public speaking is just solved. Everything else is technical. That 1% is technical. How to start a conversation, how to make a point, how to utilize body language, you can keep on going, script, volume, books, expert. We can have trainings over trainings and then create spaces. Of course, you need those spaces. 1% of that is just training. but 99% starts with you just simply going there and, hello.
So, sir, with AI being such a buzzword these days, everything's AI. The reels you scroll through Instagram is AI. The advertisements on TV is AI. Can AI play a role in professional developing students or these young professionals to communicate better? Does it have the ability to do so? If AI as a whole is an artificial intelligence that manages to communicate with you, does it have the ability to teach you, or does it have the ability to develop you to develop your professional skills or your communication skills?
I think it does. It does have a methodology of being technical to explain something. And for a being, I think AI is going to be your enemy. As a being, as a human being. Why I say this is because it's a shame to see everybody leveraging on trying to create an instant result by giving a command to a form of intelligence and not exercising neuroscience that they have, the real intelligence. What happens is that eventually your ability to problem solve goes away because you're not exercising it. You become instruction based. And what happens if they start charging you for your thinking space? It's already happening. There are levels of what you use for AI and what you don't use for AI. When you connect with people, like you're communicating, you want to send an email, avoid using AI. Why I say this as a communications evangelist, as an expert, you want to give a message. Yes, you want to beautify it and you want to say it, but if you're real with what it is that you want to say, the way you say it, people will still get you. People will still understand you. You might say little words, you might say less, but people would know that you actually said it with the forms of intelligence that you have. You can perfect certain writings or certain statements that you want to make as a communicator here and there with the use of AI in order to connect the right message out. Yes, then you're utilizing it as a tool. But if you're giving it commands and you're utilizing the scratch base of it to come out of it, then you are failing the intelligence that you have within you. And eventually what's going to happen is that you are going to be so dependent on that tool that you will not be able to exercise perfection on the go. AI is a tool. Use it as a tool. Don't let AI use you.
So, you've seen people transform through your training. So, what are some success stories of maybe certain individuals you could share that our audience could take in as an inspiration to their journey? Any success stories from your from whom you've
A
trained?
little too many to mention by name perhaps, but I can tell you mine.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
We all are lost at some point in life. It's good to be lost. The more lost you are, the more reason you have to find yourself. The deeper you are lost in a forest, the more experiences you will have trying to find your way out. The more survival skills you might build. The more dangerous kind of insects and species you might encounter. More harsh the terrain might be. Communication skills and the arena of expressions of ideas, let's just put it like that, the space to express your ideas. The more you exercise your time in this space, the more you're able to define a very strong leadership attribute. It's got a direct connection because you're in a position of expressing those ideas. And you need to express those ideas. Because when you don't express ideas, the value of you among that team or among that set of people is dropping. Ideas are another form of solution. Going back to our previous question, how do you tackle with AI and this? And if you're asking AI for ideas, then that's a problem. Hey, you have a few ideas and then you're trying to redefine it or you're trying to learn from AI, ask AI to teach you about it. That's great. And then you suggest and put your ideas forward in a different way. But if you keep getting AI to do it in detail, then it's going to be a problem. And coming back to our current question of identifying people who have actually made it forward through communication skills, too many to tell. And my one is that the more lost you are, it's okay, it's good, you're lost. You have to be young and stupid at a point in order to be old and wise.
So in your transformative, how do I phrase it? In your curriculum that you design maybe for your students, apart from just the theoretical aspect and the practical aspect, what is this truly transformative journey? What are some things that you include in it to make sure it's truly transformative for whoever is that's enrolling to Pufferfish?
I feel that Pufferfish's secrets are in terms of how they look at the subject they're training. The coaches do not look at just enhancing a skill of speaking in front of an audience. The coaches look at their mentees and they mentor them in terms of helping them identify their core values as an individual. I remember we were having an internal training program and somebody said that you just gave away the secret of how it is that we look at our training and development. And I said, the problem here is that we think it's a secret. It's not the secret, it's the truth. And people need to know this because we are how many hands are we? Our team is small. How much of administrative skills can we actually run? And this is a skill that is needed for a whole huge population. You have an idea, you're looking at a training program, come, evolve, do it. You need help, come, reach out, connect. Just say hi, hey, I want to learn how to communicate. We'll put you in front of an audience and help you how you're going to exercise your training and development and for you to become a better communicator in the process. That's if you are act of age. But if you're young enough, just do the learning. Take time in order to express yourself. Eventually, you evolve into a powerful personality.
If you could go back in time, sir, to your younger self, or to anyone in the audience who are aspiring to be someone like you when they're older, what is an advice that you would give to them or back to yourself on how you can become a wise communicator, an effective one?
Firstly, if there's an advice that I would give to my younger self is focus on the value of your time. How you spend your time, who you spend your time with, where you spend your time, what you're doing with your time. The time that you sleep, the time you wake up, the time that you choose to be awake, the time that you choose to be awake and whom you choose to be awake with. Right? The time that you try to work, the quality of what you do. Everything, time. And if you want to be a good communicator, take the time to take those opportunities. Take those opportunities. Don't be afraid. Fear is what is slowing you down from something you have no idea what you're capable of doing. And I think fear is something that's built in us, and fear is good, because if fear is not there, you might kill yourself the way you go about it. Just imagine no fear. You might overly use a knife, you could cut yourself somewhere, hurt yourself. Fear is good. Fear is what helps you identify the precision that you are going to utilize when you utilize the knife to cut onions, like you cut onions. It's the fear that stays away from you trying to chop your own fingernails. But bringing that space close enough and trying to bring that accuracy is because you're applying yourself with fear. It's very important. You do that. But yes, the chef is afraid of cutting his finger. But he took the opportunity to cut a few onions and cried till he got to that fine line, beautiful dicing. You see, they develop the muscle memory eventually. It's important.
There could be one tip or one thing that you tell our audience right now that they could apply today to just make sure that today they'll be a good communicator, today they'll be an effective communicator than they were when they started watching this podcast?
Understand the GIGO rule in your life. Good in, good out. Garbage in, garbage out. Because this directly connects with your next video that you're going to watch on this phone, or the next thing you're going to engage with, or the people you're going to connect with. Understand what you consume is going to define you in terms of making you or breaking you. Whether it is in your surrounding that you are, or whether it's the feeds of your phone, or whether it's the content of your book. I know I see a lot of people, they love to read a lot of fiction. They say, I'm very well read, I love to read. Yes, it's good to read. Reading is good. It improves the good in mechanism. The better you are at reading, the better you're going to get at writing. People, I love podcasts. I listen to a lot. I love songs. I listen to a lot. Yes, the better you are at listening. You're listening to a rap song as well, and then you're able to pick up all the words. Yes, the better you are at listening is going to directly impact the way you speak. But have you given it a time to identify what you're reading? What are you listening to? What's the context of it? What's in its content? What emotion is it actually projecting? You're listening to a song. Songs are either about money that they don't have, or they have it. And then eventually you're receiving it and you're like, oh, you want it, the cars, everything, the lifestyle, blah, 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 or the heartbreak. I mean, heartbreak songs. Let's just pause there. Right? The heartbreak songs. And then, I will survive. And then you keep on going, I will survive. Yes, you will survive. And all you got to do is breathe. And then you're going to resonate with that impact. So you're triggering your emotions with something. How are you going to step into something hyper? When you're always thinking about, I will survive. No, you will thrive. Where's that song? You will thrive. We need that song. If you're listening to that, that's the good in, good out. You're reading something and then you're reading a lot of fiction about murder, about heartbreak, about divorce, and things like this. That's going to slow you down, or negativity pushed about some community, and the articles that talk about the ill performance or something. Yes, you need to have the synopsis of it, but don't become part involved in it. What you consume in terms of your dopamine factor is going to have a direct impact on what type of brand you are in society. Your next 10 seconds has an impact with your next 10 years. This is the advice I'd give myself. This is the advice I'd give you. And this is the only advice that we need if you're going to really perform. Time. Good in, good out. Garbage in, garbage out. That includes what content and the people, everything, end to end. Reevaluate it. Sit down with a piece of paper. Ask yourself the question, what am I becoming in the next 10 seconds? Because you're aging.
Wow. That just gave me a whole different perspective on how to look at time. Thank you for that, sir. So let's just tell our audience about where you can learn more about Pufferfish and maybe how they could find more about Pufferfish. I think the answer you gave me right before the interview would be fantastic.
Should I say, find the details in the description? You can find the pufferfish at the bottom of the ocean, working hard to create designs on the sand just to prove a point, to make a point. The point that I want to make is that the pufferfish does not give up. Whatever he is working on or she is working on can be disrupted by other things, but they do not wait. They have harm coming their way, they just puff and try to push harm away. Sometimes they are a victim to it and they become prey. That's just life. You eventually prey, but you try to protect yourself. You puff up, protect yourself. Presentation. Step out of water, you're in trouble. Somebody is going to chop you up and serve you, but if they do not know how to chop you and serve you, as the pufferfish, you could give the person eating a small seizure, or maybe a little bit of a pain, or could be food poisoning as well, because what you consume is also dangerous. So, you want to know more about pufferfish? Discover yourself. Discover the strengths that you have, the capacities that you're actively working with, who you're connecting with, right? Help yourself resonate stronger. And even if somebody catches you after you're dead, let them know how to deal with you carefully. If not, you're going to kill them way before you're dead. That is why the pufferfish. At the beginning of this video, we did take it a little bit formally, but that's not who we truly are we? No. We stick to the norms of trying to connect in terms of pitching an emotion towards who is going to receive us. And that happens because we are generally working very hard to perfect the one thing that keeps running in our mind. How are they receiving me? That's what really happens when you start something. So one of the secrets that I've realized to creating good content is to avoid setting the stage inside the room in which you're recording it. And we start setting the stage with the people receiving it. And yes, we don't know who you are, where you're from, what you do at the time of this recording. But what we do know is that you and I share a commonality in terms of what destination that we want to get to, which is excellence. Come back again for more. Here, we learn how to excel, to empower, to grow, to be positive and productive. Thank you so much for having me.
Right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And that was Mr. Shuhaib Ali for you.